The Starship Valor. The bridge of the Starship Valor fell silent as Admiral Sex entered the command center. His towering frame cast shadows across the metallic floor, each step echoing with the weight of absolute authority. The crew members, a mixture of species from across the galaxy, immediately straightened their postures, their eyes fixed on their consoles. Sex belonged to the Vorak, a race that had dominated the outer rim for 3 centuries. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with razor-sharp claws and predatory instincts honed by evolution, they were the undisputed apex of the galactic food chain. His species had conquered 17 systems through sheer force and tactical brilliance. "Status report," Sex growled, his voice carrying the natural authority that came with being born to hunt and kill. "Sir, we've received new orders from High Command," reported Lieutenant Vex, a fellow Vorak whose smaller stature still dwarfed most other species. "We're to proceed to the human colony on Terra Nova and enforce the new taxation decree. Any resistance is to be met with overwhelming force." Sex's yellow eyes narrowed. The humans had been causing problems lately. Their stubborn refusal to accept their place in the galactic hierarchy was becoming an annoyance to the ruling council. They were a young species, barely past their first century in space, yet they possessed an irritating tendency toward defiance. "And the human representative?" Sex asked. "Already aboard, sir. Waiting in conference room 7 as requested." The Admiral made his way through the corridors, his officers stepping aside with practiced deference. The Vorak had earned their position, through millennia, of proving that strength determined order in the universe. It was a simple truth that most species had learned to accept. Conference room 7 contained a single occupant, a human male who appeared unremarkable by any standard. He was of average height for his species, with brown hair and calm blue eyes. His clothing was simple, practical, showing none of the ceremonial displays that other species use to indicate status. "I am Admiral Sex of the Vorak fleet," he announced, settling into the reinforced chair designed to accommodate his frame. "You are?" "Tom Miller," the human replied simply, not rising from his seat. "I represent the Terra Nova colony." Sex felt a flicker of irritation at the lack of formal protocol, but pressed forward. "Then you understand why you're here. The new taxation requirements are non-negotiable. Your colony will comply or face the consequences." Tom leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful rather than fearful. "What consequences would those be exactly?" "Complete pacification of your settlement, removal of your population to work camps. Standard procedure for defiant colonies," Sex stated matter-of-factly. These were not threats. They were documented policies that had been successfully implemented dozens of times. Something strange happened then. Tom smiled. Not the nervous grimace of a cornered prey animal, but a genuine expression of amusement. "Admiral, may I ask you something? In all your conquests, have you ever encountered a species that actually wanted to fight back?" The question caught Sex off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, have you ever faced an opponent that didn't immediately surrender or try to flee when confronted with superior firepower?" Tom's voice remained conversational, almost friendly. "Because from what I've studied of Vorak military history, your victories have been against species that were either technologically inferior or naturally passive." Sex's claws unconsciously extended. "Are you suggesting that humans are different?" "I'm not suggesting anything, I'm telling you directly." Tom stood slowly, his movements deliberate but unthreatening. "Humans don't surrender. We don't flee. When cornered, we become more dangerous, not less. It's how we survived on a planet that actively tried to kill us for hundreds of thousands of years." "Impossible," Sex snarled. "Your species has no natural weapons, no claws, no venomous bite, no armor plating. You're prey animals." Tom walked to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. "You know what our greatest weapon is, Admiral? It's not technology, though we adapt quickly. It's not numbers, though we reproduce efficiently. Our greatest weapon is that we never know when to quit." He turned back to face Sex. "Every other species you've conquered had a breaking point, a moment when the cost became too high and surrender seemed rational. Humans don't think that way. We'll burn our own cities before letting invaders take them. We'll fight with rocks and sticks if our weapons fail. We'll keep coming until there's nothing left of either side. Sex found himself leaning forward despite his intent to maintain dominance. There was something in the human's voice, not boasting or bluffing, but a simple statement of fact that carried more weight than any threat. "You're trying to intimidate me," Sex said, though the words sounded hollow even to his own ears. "No, Admiral, I'm trying to save your fleet." Tom returned to his seat with the same calm demeanor. "Because if you proceed with these orders, you won't be conquering Terra Nova. You'll be starting a war that will only end when every human is dead or every Vorik ship is destroyed. There won't be any middle ground." The silence stretched between them. Sex had faced down the fiercest predators in the galaxy, but something about this ordinary-looking human made his instincts scream warnings he'd never experienced before. "What are you proposing?" Sex heard himself ask. "Negotiation, trade agreements, mutual cooperation instead of subjugation." Tom's expression softened slightly. "Humans can be valuable allies, Admiral, but we make terrible slaves." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Sex found himself reconsidering direct orders from high command. The apex predator of the galaxy had just been given pause by a species that shouldn't have been able to challenge a single Vorak warrior. Sex reached for his communication device, knowing his next decision would change everything.